Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is Will. This guy is amazing. He's probably the most knowledgeable person I know as far as metaphysics.
Okay.
No, really, brother. And I've talked to a
Okay.
lot of people.
That's okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, because
Thank you.
every
Thank you.
topic I jump on, you know. You're a psychic,
Yes.
and you're also very knowledgeable. I mean, you were born a psychic. You kind
Mhm.
of like gravitated towards it in a sense.
Yeah. I mean,
What caused
100%.
you to gravitate it?
It was a combination of a couple of things. I've had just a number of like paranormal events happen throughout my life, starting when I was a kid, and I just always kind of knew that I saw things differently. And then as I got older and older, I found myself being drawn more towards creative work, but specifically doing things like writing and podcasting and other things wasn't quite it. And so I just kind of, throughout my life, I've had this interest in things like chaos magic and witchcraft, but also
What's
yoga.
chaos magic?
Chaos magic is a system that was developed by a guy named Peter Carroll in the 1970s. Peter Carroll is a mathematician and kind of a mysterious guy. And he basically stripped down a lot of more ornate ideas about how to tap into that sort of altered state to create changes in your perceived reality and also in objective reality, and came up with a very simple system. The ideas, the metaphysics kind of force you to take a look at the universe a little bit differently.
What do you mean differently? Okay, so a lot of people see. What I've realized is everyone sees the world differently.
Mhm.
But here's the thing: I'm coming to more realization with. We're all one.
Oh,
We're all
absolutely.
one with source. So
Absolutely.
if I hurt someone else in another way, I'm hurting myself.
Yes.
And more, that causes me to become a better person. And I just want to help thy neighbor. And I feel like that just helps me raise my vibrational state.
100%. I agree with that.
Not a lot of people would agree. I mean, they would agree, but they don't really do that. They don't really see us because the whole system, science, physics, Einstein,
Right. Right.
he even said we're all separate.
Oh,
But
interesting.
quantum mechanics, you told
Yeah.
me, Bohr, other
Yes.
people came and said, dude, stop trying to understand what God is saying.
Right. Right.
We're all
Yes.
connected. Einstein even said it's spooky particles
Mhm.
because you can separate the two particles,
Mhm.
separate them, I don't know, 1,000 miles.
Right.
They know what's going on with one another.
You're
and
talking
that's spooky.
about Bell's theorem and the idea of particle spin, right? And
Yes.
so,
See, I told you he's knowledgeable. This guy knows everything I'm talking about.
well, yeah, but going back to like the different ideas about like how the universe works, like specifically, chaos magic creates the idea of what they call like orthogonal or shadow time. So the idea of we perceive time as kind of this linear past, the present, the future sort of chain of events, and that's just because that's the way our bodies can kind of handle what's happening to us.
Sort of. Sometimes when I'm trying to be late somewhere,
Mhm.
I tell myself I have an abundance of time,
Sure.
and like somehow it seeps into my subconscious, and I know for a fact I'm going to be late.
Right.
But somehow through magic
Mhm.
and science, I don't know what the hell is going on. I end up being early,
Yes.
and I know by the clock that I'm going to be late. But
Mhm.
somehow time tends to slow down, or what I do is I'm causing it to slow down.
Mhm. Yeah, you're absolutely right there. I believe that the present is very malleable, and again, going back to that idea of conventional perceptions of time, they think of, I think it's like a hundredth of a second is sort of what we perceive as the present in the sort of
So there's a lag,
yes, yes,
and
yes,
that's like
yes.
simulation theory. That's what they're getting into.
And going back to that idea of what
Chaos.
Einstein called spooky particles, that's just the part that we can't see past, you know? So Peter Carroll believed that this universe is actually encased inside of a black hole, and that the speed of light basically is the point at which you actually break out of the black hole and then move back into it. And the idea of the universe being 16 billion years old, or however old that they say it is now, is more that it's 16 billion space-time units wide and
So
16 billion units space-time high. And whenever we perceive a singularity, that's just how far we can reach.
you said perceive.
Right.
So now I'm doing more and more meditation.
Mhm.
There's this meditation called time space because we're in a
Oh.
place of space time.
Yes.
Because space is the third,
Mhm.
time is the fourth. But if you collapse those two, you
Mhm.
end up in the fifth dimension.
Right.
So you lose track of time and space. So you forget who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what time it is, and somehow you're somewhere else, brother,
Yeah, yeah.
which is quite interesting. It's like you just go within, bro, and you forget all of the world around you,
Absolutely.
and that causes. I've had time fly.
Yeah.
When they say time flies, yeah. Like I close my eyes, the first 5 minutes, I'm trying to go into that mental state
Mm-hmm.
of meditation. Calm down. Next thing I know, it's like an hour and 20 minutes. Like, what the fuck happened?
Right.
And I feel bliss.
Yeah. And I think that that compression is basically, it's the idea of like being in a state of perfect ease, right? And when you're a kid and you go to an amusement park, you can be there for 10 hours and not get tired, and that's just because you feel that good.
Yeah.
But you can do that sitting still. You don't have to be, on a roller coaster or piling down cotton candy or anything like that. You can just get there. And the more you practice getting there,
Yeah.
the deeper into there you can get.
Yeah. So more now, what I do is it's everything in magic. I'm not sure about chaos magic per se, but magic has to do with emotion.
Oh, yeah.
You have to find that emotion
Yes.
that would make you happy for a situation that hasn't happened yet, and you have to concentrate and just immerse yourself in that emotion. Somehow, what happens is you attract that and you bring it to you. You don't go after it.
Right.
So when people say you have to work hard enough, I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna work smart, and I'm gonna imagine those things happening, and I'm gonna bring it to me. And brother, it takes time and effort because it's not easy. It's not like waving the wand, but I'm slowly bringing those stuff to me, bro. My life is becoming better and better.
I believe that, and I think that I think that the error that a lot of people make, like they'll replace hard work with focus. They'll actually sacrifice focus to the NFL, to this or that celebrity, to their identity as a Democrat, Republican, Satanist, Christian, whatever. And so you surrender your ability to sit still. And if you can sit still, you can kind of disregard all of the stuff that you don't want. You don't really want, as much as you think that you do. But the things that you do want, when you get that clutter out of the way, it's like you can see it and it can see you.
But you have to be careful, bro. Sometimes you want something because the world wants you to have it. Or
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with you. And
Yeah.
so the first thing to do is to just sit still.
Yeah.
Sit still. Shut off all of that stuff. Turn it off.
And it's
get rid
possible
of it.
for everyone. But when people say I can't meditate, you're automatically
Right.
programming yourself not to meditate.
Well, also, I bet you that's a really hardworking person, too. That's somebody who has said, okay, I have these two choices. Either I know that if I work really, really hard, I can also veg out, right? Like, I'll just surrender my consciousness to whatever wants to take it for a little bit of a ride, and then I'll just go back to work again. And then that's a cycle. And then what's different about you is you've sacrificed a lot of that data coming in at you, and you're sitting still.
Yeah.
And again, in so doing, you get very, very clear about all of the things that don't matter, and that you breathe it away. You literally exhale.
Right. And this is someone that is clinically diagnosed with ADHD, hyperactive. That's like the worst one, my body and my mind.
Yeah.
If I could do it now
Yeah.
for 4 hours of meditation and standing still,
Yeah.
bro, anyone could do it.
Absolutely.
I truly believe. Don't get me wrong, it's like a muscle. You have to work hard at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like that's gone away. I'm more clear. I'm able to concentrate more. Things
I
don't
love
bother me, but I love it, bro. Yeah,
Good.
it's awesome, dude. Yeah, and I want to help as many people as I can. But that's one thing I'm having a hard time with because when I try to help people that are in need and they're in a bad place, I'm like, dude, you just have to meditate, do this, or do ice showers. They don't. They may ask me for help, but they never
Right.
take the advice and do it, and that starts to irritate me.
So I think that one of the things that may help you this year, like, because you do have that genuine desire, and I know that like all you really want is for that person to get over the thing that's kind of hurting them, right? Now, here's the thing, you're a warrior, right? Like you literally are. You come from a warrior culture. You've got a warrior mindset. You're a kickboxer. You're all of these. You're on all of these quests, right? You're a warrior. So the things that nourish a warrior, you're very, very clear and knowledgeable about. Not everybody's a warrior, though, right? So one of the things that maybe you can start to do is kind of, because you're a highly intuitive person too, right? So like start to figure out what triggers that sense of that there's this triangulation of bliss, right? But also meaning and purpose, right? Like a good example of this would be like if you're somebody who enjoys physical exercise, you can bring yourself to a state of bliss through a really great workout. If you love to dance, you can do the same thing. If you love to paint, but if you take somebody who hates painting because they're a gym rat, and you say go paint for 2 hours,
Yeah.
that's not a happy. That's a lot of work for that person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so again, what you want to do is trigger that sort of triangulation of good. And so you've got the world's greatest hammer, and it's ice baths and the things that work for you, right? But now, not everything is a nail. But you're also, because of all of the people that you've talked to, I'm sure I'm not the first person who's got something that works for them, right?
Or the last, bro.
Right. So what you want to do is figure out for each person, like, what's their ice bath?
Yeah, I got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. One thing I want to ask you. So you're a psychic. Can you explain to me the difference of being a psychic and being, or like clairvoyant, like remote viewing?
Yeah. So those are three different things, kind of, but you can have you can work with all of them. So clairvoyant is a property, right? It basically means to see physically. You actually have visual images of things that are going to happen ahead of time. Okay, and some people are clairvoyant, some people are clairaudient.
Isn't that the same as being psychic?
Well, it's a property of psychicness, right? So a psychic is somebody who either has those abilities and works with them to a certain point. There's a lot of people who are clairvoyant and they just don't know it or they don't engage with it, and so like, are they psychic? Sure. Would I put them in a room with somebody else who kind of does it all the time? Maybe not. Because again, like it's like there's a level of like I guess intentionality behind the psychic property. Somebody can be accidentally clairvoyant, and you know what?
You mean
honestly,
like they could be gifted,
yeah.
like someone that's like a natural athlete versus someone that has to train?
More like somebody who's a natural athlete versus somebody who takes their natural athleticism and turns it into something. Like
Yeah.
somebody who's a natural athlete may just kind of be very great at hauling boxes for UPS, and somebody else may use that and climb mountains that nobody's ever climbed before.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Or play professional sports.
Right. So it depends on focus and intention and sort of how far you want to take it.
So that's psychic and clairvoyance. What about remote viewing? What's the
Now,
difference?
remote viewing is where you would take your clairvoyance and actually try to specifically test it by saying, okay, so there's protocols for remote viewing. Okay,
There is, but I have a book. I'm trying to cover it, but I can't really break it.
Okay, so another very simple breakdown for this is clairvoyant has to do with time more than remote viewing, which has more to do with space.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's where I was kind of leaning to.
Gotcha.
I just want to clear it up where a remote viewer is better at identifying a certain place or location, but in the present moment.
Yes. Sort of. I
know they could go outside.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Somebody who's not clairvoyant or psychic at all, anybody can practice remote viewing and start to do it. Anyone.
Yes,
Anyone.
I know.
Yeah. So if you've never been clairvoyant before and you practice remote viewing, you may end up picking it up. Like it literally is.
I have a book I'm reading right now.
Okay.
I haven't gotten to the part where I'm actually practicing it, but the theories and the physics, there's legit physics behind this book.
Oh, sure.
The CIA and the KGB and all these other government agencies around the world have been doing this, I don't know for how long. Before that, it was the shamans doing it for thousands of years.
It's always around us, yeah.
Yeah, but the military has developed certain steps. If you do this, this, and this, boom, you can do it. Which is kind of shocking because I can break time and space, bro. I can take my consciousness and project it anywhere, actually in the universe.
Okay. I mean, like you're on your way. Like you've been doing this now for.
But that's not what I want to do. I don't really care to project my time unless like I have a daughter and she's lost and I need to locate her.
Well, I mean, you may just decide you want to do it for the same reason that some people like to, go out on jet skis. Like, it can be kind of interesting.
Or help the police find missing people.
You could do that. Yeah, sure.
There was a famous guy from Burbank. He was a police chief. Oh, I should have asked when I was in Burbank. So this guy retired, and he helped start the project where he was able to find bombs all over Los Angeles or find missing people and he would send units there before the incident actually happened.
Yeah.
So right when it happened, the police would show up, and it was crazy.
Yeah. There's all sorts of people throughout history who have done stuff like that. Um, there's a whole bunch of them in Latin America and just a lot of places. You know, it's funny because we have this very goofy idea about all of these things in the United States specifically.
I think that's
You know.
changing though.
Yeah. It's changed before. Like, you know, we're this is a cycle. Like, this has happened before. Like, if you look at like what was happening in the late '60s, this is very similar to that. You know, that there was all of this open talk about all of this, and then it kind of shut down in the late '70s, early '80s, and it disappeared again. And
Yeah,
it's
but
out now.
But now it's like a trend to be spiritual. Like all the hot chicks in the yoga pants doing yoga, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so spiritual and I'm burning sage."
Well, hey, if we break down the word spiritual, right, it simply means spirit is breath. The two they're the same thing, and it's very important to understand that. And it's more than breath, right? But somebody who is attentive to you know, breathing, and if you take yoga, it's gonna make you breathe better. And I guarantee you, most of those people who are I think you're describing like a yoga bunny essentially, which is a lovely.
That's what it is.
It's good.
And they go
But-
to Tulum, and then they have
right, but here's the thing, like if they weren't that in that world, maybe it would be. Maybe they would be in a darker place,
yeah,
or,
they
or
would go,
something
they
like
go
that.
gay bashing or something. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. But back to being clairvoyant.
Yeah, sure.
It just boggles the mind, but I believe it. Where I could take my consciousness, and my consciousness is non-local, bro. It's not local. It's not here.
Yeah.
I could project it somewhere else,
Mhm.
which is mind blowing.
Yes.
It's completely mind blowing, bro.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it changes the way science has done things for the past forever.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you
Modern science.
modern science, but something like this has to happen, right? Because like sooner or later, the printing press happened, right? And then all of a sudden, everybody could read. Before that, books weren't a thing. Like you know,
Yeah, it was only for rich people.
right.
Just like-
And so like now, but we think in words in a different way now. We like the idea of how we're bound to language is totally different than it was 1,000 years ago. You know, if you think about like the idea of what consciousness even was back in like the days of like ancient Greece and stuff like that, they talked about like having a genius, or like the idolos and the daimon being these two guiding forces that actually sort of they looked at reality totally different than we do. You know, and now we're starting to see a new way of perceiving reality, which again, as you're saying, is absolutely mind blowing, and it's fantastic. I'm really happy to be here right now.
I mean, I hope it goes the right way.
Well,
Towards the greater good of humanity is what I mean.
For sure. Well, we're probably gonna die before it decides what it's gonna do anyway, because you know it's.
But I can always push it to the right direction.
Right, exactly.
And I truly believe I can do that
I agree.
by bettering myself, like I said.
Yes. Yeah, it always comes back
As
to that.
Gandhi said, if you want to see the world change, start by changing yourself.
Because again, you're the only person who you have any real ability to change. You'll never change another human being, and really, like when you talk to somebody, you don't know based on like what's shaped their world, how they're even perceiving the words that you say.
But I
you
can
know?
always influence them by just being my best
Vibrationally.
self.
Yeah,
vibrationally, or
yeah.
be like Enoch,
Yeah, sure. Yes.
like the Book of Enoch.
Yeah, I mean,
He said that's a little extreme.
it's definitely an extreme example, but you know, to go back to your awakening, right? It's not all that different. Like you basically projected yourself into the heavens, and so you.
What do you mean my awakening? Like, are you talking about the one time where? Go ahead, you go.
No,
what do you mean by my awakening?
literally what you were just talking about. You know, your ability to project consciousness. You know, you've achieved like Raja Yoga. You know, the yoga of the mind, and so.
Oh,
Yeah, but that awakening, it's we've had these like consciousness shifts before in humanity, and it's
yeah.
just,
I even had a super like transcendental moment, dude, where I was like gone. My body was shaking completely, and this randomly happened when I was meditating, because I meditate every night before I go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And this one time, bro, something happened where I don't know, bro, I completely surrendered
Yeah.
to the moment, and my body was shaking, and I literally saw my body lift up. It
Mhm.
was an astral projection because I was in a different dimension completely.
Right.
and there's these entities, and they were shocked that I was there. And then like I was like coming back, and I was like, no, I know what's going on. Just complete surrender. And it was
Right.
just like, bro, like I just saw the sky, and it was so beautiful. And
That's
like I
awesome.
definitely saw behind the veil, bro.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, I was like, I always wanted to do that.
Mhm.
Like be one with source or
Yeah.
something. I don't know what the hell happened. To tell you the truth.
No, it sounds like that.
But when I came back, everything was okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't like my life didn't really change.
No.
Some people, when that happens to, they know it's a psychosis because they've never had anything like that happen to them.
Right.
Me, I've always had like micro dosing,
Mhm.
and this time was like a nice dose of mushrooms.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
there was no drugs or anything. I haven't
no,
done
no,
any
no.
drugs.
I understand that.
just
yeah.
just regular meditation.
Yeah, yeah. They talk about there's a word for it, the word critophany, right?
Critophany?
Yeah, critophany is when you basically become it's when you experience God consciousness to a point where it has an effect on you physically, and some people actually die of critophany. Like it kills people, you know.
That's a good way to go, bro.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
If you're in a state of
it's
bliss.
it's the most interesting way you could possibly go. You
But-
know, like
Yeah, it was, man, my whole body was shaking, dude.
Yeah.
I know it was like energy. And
Yeah.
dude, so one word I could describe it was just bliss or love.
sure,
It was just like, man, I was just such in a good place, bro.
yeah.
Like it wasn't even like sex or like love towards another person. It's just like love, bro.
No, it's like what like the poets like Rumi, you know, write about, you know, that sort of
Yeah, but I've never experienced anything like that.
Mhm.
Now that I think about it, I mean, for like 10 minutes, I had my head down and
Yeah.
just try to process it.
Yeah.
But then, like, nothing really changed in my life. I was like, okay, cool. So this is what it means. You know, I've seen the other side.
Yeah.
But other people, let's just say they don't meditate or do anything like
Sure.
that, and suddenly they see it, bro. They know it's a psychosis,
Yeah,
or they call it the dark night of the soul.
right. The Dark Night of the Soul. Yeah.
You try to
yeah.
explain this to other people, they're gonna be like, "You're a quack."
Yeah, I mean it's not an everyday conversation that you have. You know, it's funny though. I will say that because you've experienced that doesn't make you immune from experiencing a dark night of the soul. That's something that will move through psychically. The thing to do is to not ever say like that won't happen to me again because I've experienced this.
What do you mean? No, but the way I see the dark night of the soul is I try to come back and rationalize this and tell other people, and they think I'm crazy. But now
Mhm.
more and more people, and even like some of the family friends I have here, they're totally open to that stuff.
Good.
And I told them, dude, I'm like, dude, the other night my body was shaking. They're like, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
And it's like a
really great.
55-year-old guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I was like, dude, these people are open-minded.
So, have you explored like Kundalini yoga? Because it sounds to me like
I
you-
haven't done Kundalini.
Okay.
No, are you talking about the Kundalini breath? That's what kind of brought me there too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I haven't done the yoga,
Okay.
but I did the breath. I think they call it the breath for fire.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I did that, but certain people told me be careful because if you have certain
Well,
schisms,
yeah.
that
So
might send you off to the wrong place.
yes, very much so. What I mean by that is just basically going. There are classes that you could just go to all over the place. Like
I haven't done the classes that I
okay.
would want to. I
Yeah.
should probably go and talk to those people too.
yeah, yeah.
I haven't. I've done the Joe Dispenza
Right.
retreat where I did it.
Mhm.
I wasn't doing it right, or maybe there's something going
Well,
on.
you know, imagine we were talking about like imagine we were talking like this was a imagine this was a podcast about Olympic ski jumping.
Yeah.
Right. And so like you went to the Olympic ski jumping camp like twice and you're like, well, you know, I got off the ground, but I don't think I got it right. I guess I'll just stop. No, you keep doing it, right?
Right,
And find
right.
different ways to do it and find different ways to engage it. So like take a couple of different classes, you know, watch some videos. You go watch like is it like Ananda Maya yoga? Anyway, I never say it right, but anyway,
So for people that don't know what Kundalini breath is,
Mhm.
it's apparently when you get all of your 7 chakras lined up
Mhm.
and you hit your pineal gland, and there's certain fluids
Yeah.
that you push it up from the bottom, like your pelvics goes up, and apparently it causes you to have a transcendental moment. It's like being high off of DMT or having like a hero's dose of mushrooms.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: you get half of your own supply,
Mhm.
and apparently people have done this for thousands of years, bro.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I've seen other people. I don't know if I told you at this meditation retreat I went to Joe Dispenza's.
Yes, the one
Where they were
in-
able to cure their own cancer, bro, within weeks. I was like, what is going on?
right.
But I talked to some girl that did that, but then she had like dark thoughts. She was able to cure her throat cancer,
Mhm.
but then like apparently I don't know if these were entities or anything, but she had these like thoughts like, hey, jump off this building. You don't
Right.
deserve to live. And she's like, I had to exercise and get that stuff out of my head.
Yeah. Well, listen. If you were bit by a snake and you get the anti venom, it doesn't mean that you feel great, right? Like there's this period.
But you're
after,
alive, bro.
You're alive, and so that woman experienced a very strong adverse reaction of the shadows that she ended up processing and releasing, and that does happen a lot. And again, that's you want to talk about Dark Night of the Soul, it is that out processing. So sometimes you'll feel really bad, and you got to sit with it. And the more that we do this, and the more that we do this again with other people, and sometimes go with students, and then take what we learn and work with other people, you'll process it more. But like again, it's what I'm saying is, it sounds like you had a very profound experience. I don't think that it's the last one that you'll experience, and so maybe
probably not, bro. I mean, I meditated an hour and a half last night.
Right.
And an hour today.
So work with somebody like this, do that this year. Set an intention and you know.
But if I do that and I have those, what's the purpose? That's the thing.
What's the purpose of going off a ski jump?
To get high, I guess, to have fun. You don't
Right,
have to conquer something.
We're gonna die someday. Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring it right back to that. And there's really no point to this other than having a really great life. Like
100%, bro.
And obviously wrapped up into all of that is charity and being good to people and making a difference and all of that.
Right.
But that's the best life that you can have. So the point of this is, first of all, if you have a knack for it, it seems like you do. Explore it, because it may be really awesome. Two, it'll give you the energy to just kind of keep digging in.
Well, I got energy for months to keep digging in.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So work with it, refine it.
I'll check it out. I will.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing. I did the dark room meditation.
Oh, cool.
And I was trying to just do it like apparently so I could have that DMT trip without having to do drugs.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it. And then the fact that I was like, all right, bro, maybe I should just calm down on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of stopped thinking about, boom, I had that transcendental moment.
Yeah.
It just randomly hit me.
Well, you weren't chasing it anymore.
I stopped chasing it, bro.
Yeah.
And it just came to me.
But
it's just kind of weird how life works that way.
Well, I think that pursuit is resistance, right? Like, so when we pursue things, we're actually creating the resistance, and then when you kind of not to go all the law of attraction, but we'll go there for a minute. When you set the intention, just kind of then walk away and have a really great life, then you do kind of strangely just trip over,
That's happened to me, and I've gotten late plenty of times accidentally.
Sure. I was going to say the obvious example of that is not being actively interested in dating, and then all of a sudden you're just more confident because you don't care.
Well, when I travel, when I used to drink, I used to just go to bars sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
just like that. Like, I'm just gonna have a drink, dude, and just call it a night. And
Sure.
then like I would just be at the bar, meet this beautiful girl. The next night, no, hey, dude, the birds and the bees.
Right.
But I didn't plan for that to happen. It just happened.
Mm-hmm.
But the other times I go with my friends, we're gonna find girls. Nope, we come back empty-handed, bro.
Right,
Just like
'cause-
bottle service, thousands of dollars wasted.
Oh,
Not my money, but yeah.
Yeah, that's rough though.
Yeah, it is pretty rough.
But again, it's pursuit creates resistance. Pursuit creates resistance. If you seek anything, right? You can set the intentions, and just because you create resistance doesn't mean you won't get it. And there's a lot of people who have run marathons based on just pure grit.
What happened to them afterwards, though?
Yeah, and then there are people who run for the pure joy of it, and they run year after year after year after year after year. And so it can either be something that you enjoy or something that you don't.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Back to being a psychic.
Yeah.
When you read people's fortune,
Mhm.
Apparently with clairvoyance and even with psychics, I've read you're really good at reading the present moment.
Mhm.
And every time we go beyond the moment, or like towards the future,
Yeah.
if it's like 1 hour in the future,
Mhm.
the probabilities are small.
Yes.
But the further out you go, there's way more probabilities,
Mhm.
and there's literally like infinite probabilities.
Right.
Things have happened. How do you pick one probability, and is it the right one, or is it one out of the ones?
Number one, you gotta trust the first when you do this work, right? To take this into the psychic end of things, when you're doing the work with somebody, and they sit down with you and ask you a question, one of the things that you train yourself to do is go quiet, and then the first thing that comes up is what comes out. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what happens. It means that that's what we need to talk about in that moment. Okay, they need to be aware of looking at whatever it is from that angle in order to adjust or focus on it and bring it in. Okay, and so Yes, there's a hundred different possibilities, and that's one of the reasons that I do use cards. When I do psychic work with people, it's always with tarot cards or a Lenormand deck or something where something other than me is focusing and directing the conversation towards what we need to talk about. And it's funny because I get some people who come in and say, I want to know what's going on with my significant other or something like that. But most people come in and just say, I want to see what the cards have to say, and we'll lay it out and just start to talk. And again, that's how that, I guess that's the process at work. The cards create the sort of state of allowing us to shift into the present moment and trusting in the randomness of whatever the conversation is going to be about. And so how does that work? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how any of this stuff works, like
Scientific level?
on a materialistic level. Because again, going back to the spooky particles, this is what I think is occupying that space that we can't perceive in between, like the Planck units. And
For now. Did you say Planck units?
Yeah.
What the fuck you cited, bro? I was googling that last night and
Oh,
today.
that's so funny. Okay, so
I
yeah.
didn't even know what that was.
Oh wow.
Fucking psychic, bro. Planck time.
Yeah, Planck time. Yeah. So
You picked up on that too, huh?
Yeah.
That's funny. See, I told you.
Anyway,
This guy's the most knowledgeable I know. You picked up on that. That's funny. You're blushing now.
yeah.
So I was googling that literally today.
Cool.
So I was listening to Red Braden last night, and
yeah.
it was like on Gaia, and he was talking about there's this place where scientists have found where there's no time. It's called Planck time, where it's like in the funnels in the very bottom. Literally, time ceases to exist.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, going back to that idea of orthogonal or shadow time or something like that. Like, I think that we like if it's more useful to view time as a sort of network of information, and in this present moment we can call the data stream in from a lot of other points to serve whatever needs to be, and so most people do that through memory, but you can also do it through randomness, and cards are again kind of that.
Yeah.
But
I feel like with the cards, you maybe narrow it down a little more.
yeah.
Because think about it, there's a million possibilities, but there's a possibility you could, I don't know what the hell you could do. Like, you jump in the car, jump on the plane, and then go to Dubai.
Right.
But I guess the cards kind of limit it. But here's the thing. That's one possibility that you see.
Yeah.
So if you tell this person the possibility, and they fix it on it,
Yeah.
the probability of that happening will be more likely. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, and that's the whole point. The whole point is,
What if you tell them something? My point is, what if you tell them something that they don't want to hear?
well, going back to the idea of being good at the psychic stuff, you got to learn how to place yourself in service to somebody. Okay, so if you had a tarantula on your back and I was a great tarantula handler, maybe I could take that little box right there and get it off of your shirt without anybody freaking out or getting bit or getting squashed, right? All right. Now, if you lay out some stuff and you realize that something bad is going to happen, you got to know how to talk to a person so that you can help them adjust to whatever it is that you see without freaking them out or making them go dark, right? And that takes a lot of work. You got to learn how to communicate with people. You got to learn what motivates people from a place of desire versus a place of fear. And sometimes you see somebody spiraling, and what you can do is just get them to calm down, learn how to self-soothe, remember finding your ice bath, in such a way that they can kind of adjust to something before it becomes a serious problem. Okay? And if you say you've got a serious problem, well, you probably shouldn't be doing psychic readings for people. You should probably, again, go sit in a field until you learn how to be positive.
But here's the thing. I feel like the metaphysics, it attracts a lot of good people, bro.
Sure.
And people that are curious, but also attracts, like, lunatics, too. It really does, bro. There's something about the good side and the bad side.
Yeah.
The force.
Yeah.
It attracts the good and bad. Because I know people that their lives are pretty fucked, bro. I met them at, like, different meditation retreats. They're like strippers.
Yeah.
And their lives are upside down. But they're also life coaches. I was like, I know their personal life, and like their life is a mess, but they're also coaching other people. I'm like, this is not such a good idea.
Well, I mean, maybe that's their first go at it too. And so, those people, one of two things is going to happen. If they're serious about it in some kind of way, and you don't, like, none of us know what the person next to us, how serious that person is in his or her own way, right? And so if they are, then they're gonna fuck up for a few years. You just will. Nobody's great right out the bat, and so if you have to work at a strip club, or if you have to sell drugs, or if you have to work as a day trader while you figure out your stuff, cool. I mean, and in a few years, either they've given up or they've gotten really good at it. There's no two ways about it. And
I feel like if they don't give up, they'll probably get good at it.
yeah, I agree with you. And so, great. Then maybe at some point that person either quits the job that they're not in alignment with, or they figure out how to do both. And if they do, cool. I mean, that's everyone gets to do what they want. Everyone, if you want to be somebody who meditates and also is a stripper or a Call of Duty champion or a soldier or anything else, we're all incarnate here to exhibit in some kind of combination. So
Yeah.
whatever.
And I
Yeah.
try not to judge those people.
Sure.
But when I see them and their life is kind of a mess, I'm like, maybe these people shouldn't be coaching other people. Maybe they be getting coached first.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, also just as maybe like you're seeing that as a call to attention in something, and so like whenever I'm kind of confronted with something like that, I'll kind of I'll pull back from it and say, okay, I'm seeing this for a reason, right? And it has nothing to do with what they're up to, because I don't give a shit. If you succeed as a life coach who sells crack, awesome. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. And if you become all the way life coach or all the way a crack dealer, I don't care.
Okay.
Okay? If I see you and I'm bugged for some reason, I'm going to go home and figure out why all of a sudden I care. And if it's because of something I've got to let go, I'll let it go. And if it's because of something I got to work on, well, hopefully I'll work on it.
Well, I already know why. Because
Okay.
it has to be that hero archetype. I generally want to help people. And selling crack to people, you're
Right.
not helping people, bro.
Okay, but you've got to surrender the archetype in order to kind of tap into the true self. You've got to give up every part, the
Yeah.
good and the bad, and just kind of get. We're all meat tubes that breathe, and
That's a work in progress, unless I smoke bufo. But I'm not gonna do that.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
not,
I'm
not
good,
doing,
bro. I'm
not
good.
doing the toad supplement.
I'm not doing toad. I'm not. No, because it's already in my head, bro. The chemicals are already in my brain. It's
Yes.
gonna take a little longer
Okay.
for me to navigate it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: I could go to the top of the mountain and come down. I'm not suddenly gonna find myself on the mountain and then come down and then not know how to go back up. That's why people get into drugs a lot.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like people that do psychedelics,
Yeah.
they end up somewhere, they come back, but they don't know how to get there without the substance.
Well, I know plenty of people who use psychedelics and then also they don't, right? So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you've got your own path, and again, you got the world's greatest hammer, okay? But there's nails, there's screws.
Sometimes you
there's-
need a scapula.
exactly. Sometimes you need a scapula. Sometimes you need an electric guitar, right?
Sometimes you need
Or a paintbrush,
acoustic guitar,
or a
bro.
pizza.
Yeah.
Right? Like-
I mean,
like-
no, I'm good with the dough.
Okay.
Without the dough.
Well, I mean, you get a halal pizza.
Yeah. What pizza?
Halal pizza.
Oh, okay.
Am I using that word wrong or
Halal.
halal?
Halal.
Okay.
I'm not Arabic, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it won't give you the upset stomach though.
I guess, yeah.
So,
This is probably like one of my last questions, brother.
sure.
Since I've been talking to a lot of people, bro, there's practitioners that are like super good.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting different people that are like life coaches
Right.
and like gurus, like Joe Dispenza
Yes.
or whatever these other people,
Mhm.
Greg Braden, and some of them, brother, they have really, really unhealthy egos.
Mhm.
And I could tell maybe they started off in a really good place, maybe they still are, but their egos are kind of getting to them.
Okay.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's funny. Going back like the archetypal journey, right? There's this. If you study the tarot, like right after Temperance comes like the Devil, and then or I'm sorry, yeah, Temperance, the Devil, and then the Tower, and then the Star and the Moon, and these sort of represent like the crash that happens at the height of spiritual attainment. When you're talking about them, I think the really messed up version of this is the Bikram guy. Remember?
Yeah, the guy that was sexually molesting those
Right,
people,
right.
the Yoda guy. But did he really
he
do
wasn't he wasn't always that. Like this, like as far as what I've and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I've heard this from a number of different yoga
I have to,
practitioners,
bro.
is that he wasn't, and then all of a sudden he just got to a point where he lost it, right? Like so,
He was having like sex parties.
right, he's having sex parties. But he was also being carried around on a gold throne,
He was, bro.
And so like somewhere between having like 300 yoga students and developing a really great system and sort of leaning into that, and being carried around on a gold throne and molesting people, like there was this sort of kink in the development. And going back to the idea of ego, I can't speak to any of the people like individually that you're talking about. I don't really know anything about them, and but I would say that there's this when you mix metaphysics and success to a certain point, it can get very dangerous. And because we're all magicians, right?
No, we're all humans, bro.
We're all humans.
That's the point.
Definitely. And when you take a human being and you give them sort of a certain element of
Godlike powers.
malleability with reality, right? Godlike powers, then a lot of gods become terrible, right? Like if you read the mythologies, Zeus wasn't always a great guy,
Nope.
and he behaved a lot like that Bikram dude. You know, so be human. Don't try to become a god. It's great being a human.
It is, bro. I like it.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be here on this plane to experience the life.
It's
Yeah,
really
the life.
awesome. Like there's
It
lots
is, bro.
of there's
Like
halal
this
pizza.
milkshake.
Yeah, milkshakes and
It is. It's
yeah.
it's now I'm more thankful for the more simpler things in life, bro.
Mhm.
Like somehow, I don't know, just waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
Just putting snow on my face.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that makes me happy too, bro.
Yeah.
I'm sure the sports car would. It probably wouldn't, bro. But like I can imagine the feeling I have with the sports car,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then somehow attract it.
Well, I agree, and if you want a sports car, certainly I imagine you can make a sports car happen. I certainly like fast vehicles.
Yeah.
And
I don't really care for them, but yeah, I like traveling more.
Okay, but that's your thing, and
That
so
is my
so
thing.
you get to have what you want, and it's okay. Like that's the thing. Like, and going back to like crack dealing life coaches or anybody else, when you find you're getting triggered. I mean, that's the thing, and so I would say that.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not triggered enough for me to go fight them, but I'm like,
Right.
bro, what is going on? Like, yeah,
Right.
there's a sudden trigger, yes.
Right, and so you don't have to carry that. You can let that go, like, and like, it'll feel even better when you do. When you can only take what's good from the lesson and disregard anything else, it feels better, and you'll retain it in a better way than if you say, well, he's a horrible person, but I can learn this from him anyway. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because again, it's
It does.
Yeah.
Like everyone I've talked to, I've learned something from. Now, I don't
Yes.
agree with everyone I've talked to,
Right.
but everyone I've talked to, I've learned something from.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
So again, if you and releasing judgment doesn't mean you invite them to your niece's wedding, right? It just means that you don't harbor a grudge anywhere in your
Nice.
body. Make sense?
Yeah. And last advice, what would you tell people that just are starting off as a sidekick, or maybe they do want to become a sidekick, or they think they're sidekick? Would you have some advice for those people?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple of things that I would recommend to anybody who is developing their spirituality, and I think that if you really break the most important things to work on down to two very simple ideas. Work on not moving, and work on breathing into your belly, just below your belly button,
Diaphragm?
into your diaphragm. Okay, so if you continuously spend 15 minutes a day on not moving, in whatever the most comfortable position it is for you, half lotus, laying down flat on your back, sitting on a couch, king's pose, giving your neighbor the bird, whatever. Like, sit there for 15 minutes and practice not moving. And if you find spots that are uncomfortable, give yourself permission to adjust them and practice that. At the same time, spend maybe the same 15 minutes or a different 15 minutes a day, or even just, a minute 15 times a day or whatever, on just breathing into that specific part of your belly. And whatever your metaphysics are, if you do those two things, it will get better. What you're working on will get better. Do those two things. That's it. And then you can go do everything else. Go learn tarot, learn whatever you like, learn yoga, learn Joe Dispenza, Esther Hicks, anything. Nunchucks, right? Practice not moving and belly breathing, and all of that stuff will flow to you better.
Cool. Right on, brother. Always an honor to have you.
Yeah, this
Thanks
has
for
been fun.
informing me. It has, brother. I'm gonna leave your information so if people need to reach out to you.
Yeah.
Do you do virtual tarot card readings?
I do readings over the phone, and I do energy work, remotely, and also, yeah, if you're here in the valley, I'm available.
Utah in
yeah.
Salt Lake City.
In Salt Lake City.
Or
yes.
if you're not virtual, he's still available.
Yeah. So Karap will hit you up with how to get in touch with me.
Yeah. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and subscribe. Help me out, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.